Welcome back to Texas A&M Aggies Live. I'm your host, Cameron Honesty, joined today again for the third or fourth consecutive week by Ken Torres, one of the very reliable Texas A&M recruiting insiders. It was an interesting day because we've been dealing with recruiting mainly for football. That's been obviously the big story this summer with last weekend. Mike Elko and his staff hosted about 18 recruits from the 2026 class, including several commitments. We're going to get to that later in the show. But to start off, Jace LaViolette, Texas A&M star junior outfielder, has called it a career in Aggie land, which is not surprising at all, given that he was recently in one of USA Today's recent mock drafts, was poised, I think he's predicted to be selected 10th overall, but with the Chicago White Sox, which obviously is ironic being that Brandon Montgomery is currently in their system. So, I knew the writer for that was obviously having some fun there. But I wouldn't be surprised given his power at the plate and obviously his dynamic career in College Station. And again, not surprising given that he's pretty much given everything he can to this program. He could have come back next season to polish some things up, maybe work on some consistency issues at the plate that had a lot of strikeout issues this season. But again, the entire team had problems, so you can't really just say that Jace was the only one struggling. And as we've seen in the past, guys like Jace who have historic careers, obviously we need to start off by saying he is the active leader in home runs, I believe both collegiately as well. I think he's still, I think he passed his teammate this year, Wyatt Hensler, was 68. So obviously 68 in his Texas A&M career, passing Dalen Holt, who held that record for a good 20 years, I believe. It was a long time. Because
good old record there.
Oh, yeah. So, since early 2000s, I believe. So, I mean, you know what? I guarantee you can be prouder of that fact that someone like Jace, who honestly is one of the greatest dudes who's ever come through this program. And just to top it off, before you give me your thoughts, I think you and I can agree that the send-off was beautiful. The way he did it, obviously playing with a broken hand in the SEC tournament. A&M was not going to get to the NCAA tournament this year. You guys all know that of what happened. But he was doing everything in his power to get this team past LSU. They ended up falling 4-3, but he produced two of A&M's 3 runs, which was just incredible to watch with a guy that was in seething pain less than 24 hours before. So hats off to him. Can't wait to see what he does at the next level. But your thoughts on his career, and obviously we're going to get to in a second, but how A&M's going to try to replace his production going into next season.
Well, first, I think going into this next season, there's not really a surefire way to replace what Jace did for this team over his collegiate career. I mean, you said it yourself, he has broken many, many records while wearing that A&M jersey. And I can speak for all the fans when they say that they're sad to see him go. But it is his time. He's being projected as a first-round MLB draft pick. It is ironic that the White Sox are projected to try and draft him. Will he go there? We've seen mocks go all over the place before. But hats off to Jace, first and foremost. It's very, very hard to make a name for yourself immediately off the bat, even as a highly rated recruit. We've seen sometimes these recruitments, these highly touted players go sour, but he has embodied, and I think I can speak for all of our fans in this one as well, he has embodied what A&M fans have wanted to see in this Texas A&M baseball program for a good long while. Coming back after a College World Series and just to improve his draft stock, and it has worked for him so far. But now he's on to bigger and better things. Now, as how the Aggies can backfill, I'm not entirely sure yet. It remains to be seen, especially as these World Series is about to go on and go all the way up to the championship. We still have players entering the portal for baseball right now. We've already landed, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 commits already in the transfer portal. One
MJ Bollinger, the pitcher from FAU, and Jake Dewar, the outfielder from FAU. So 2 FAU commits.
2 FAU kids, one from right in the backyard of Texas from Flower Mound, I believe was teammates with Caden Sorrell, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think he gave, to piggyback off of that, I believe he gave an interview with Texas Ags, who, credit to them, they always get pretty much the first media coverage and interviews with these new additions to kind of get some background. So Caden Sorrell, who has not announced his return yet, it's very assumed. Obviously, he's a top draft pick going into the next cycle. But he was assumed to, or he was rumored to be a big part of why Dewar chose A&M over plenty of suitors. This was somebody who was hitting, I believe, 428 last season before his injury, a elite contact guy. Only had 2 home runs, but to be honest, A&M needs less pure power guys and more contact hitters because, as we know, small ball wins as well. It's not, I mean, A&M was a team that could beat the crap out of the ball at many times this season, including what we saw against Tennessee and a couple games against Arkansas and LSU, who had great pitching staffs, very powerful, but the inconsistency at the plate was just killing them each time. So getting a guy like that who has a great swing, you watch the film on this kid, and there's a reason why A&M went very hard after him. I see a lot of people, and there are still fans out there. Again, it is what it is, how you think, but kind of helmet scouting, that's a big thing in our industry, which you do not do. It's a big no-no. That maybe see FAU and they think, well, he went to FAU. What's he going to do in the SEC? Well, it's baseball. It doesn't matter. These kids, as we know, Dewars, for example, started his career at TCU. Things didn't work out there. Obviously, he went to a school which gave him an opportunity to get better and better. And obviously, he had his best season yet. And I don't think it's going to be a problem. Kind of like we saw with Wyatt Hensler, who, like Jace LaViolette, was a history maker at Penn, come into the SEC and do very well. So it's just something that people should ignore. With Bollinger, this is somebody who had a very good ERA. Obviously, he was poorer against tougher competition, but we've seen that with guys at the current A&M staff. Justin Lampkin is one name I can think of who had a fantastic year. We don't know what his status is, but he had to get better, and he struggled against good competition in the past. He finally reached his ceiling, I believe, as a college player, and really showed that MLB potential this year. So it takes time for some other guys, and a change of scenery helps. So overall, very good start for Michael.
Yeah, it's going to be a process after going through this offseason. I mean, you saw it during the season. I think the fans were kind of gearing up for this kind of offseason with baseball. But going back to Jake Dewar, I mean, this is a guy where, in my mind, you slot him into either that leadoff or the second person in that batting order, maybe around where kind of we saw Keel hit leadoff near towards the end of the season, where you just need someone, hey, Moneyball, you need someone to get on base. This is your guy. And he was exceptional hitting in, I believe, 10 games before he got injured throughout. I mean, he was hitting very, very well. So very good pickup for the Aggies in my mind. And Dewar, I mean, you just need I don't even want to say you need bodies at this point. You just need guys who are willing to play to the best of their abilities, who are wanting to get better.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We do believe there are two. There are two more recruits. There are two more transfer portal players that have yet to be announced. We know Sorry about that. Ryan Broniger of Texas Ags, who's done a fantastic job. Obviously, one of the lead recruiters with baseball, recruiting analysts with baseball and transfer portal guys. There's a couple big names I've heard. One of them is a Maryland shortstop. Another is, I believe, a pitcher. A lot of names are in the mix right now. They've done a very good job keeping things very quiet because, as we know, the College World Series is obviously starting very soon. You do have a lot more players that are going to enter their name, and it's just going to get even more chaotic. And Texas A&M is a great destination for any elite player who wants to come kind of solidify their college career before the MLB. So there's going to be a lot going on in the next couple of days. We will likely hear more. We even said it on the show last Tuesday, that we were going to hear more news. Obviously, that came pretty quickly with the two FAO players. And that's just the start because Mike Early knows that there's a lot of pressure on him overall this summer. Again, Trev Alberts gave him another chance to show that, A, he can prove himself, both on the recruiting trail and on the portal, to rebuild this team, make them a contender next season, because the fan base is 50-50 on if he can do that based on his coaching last season. But again, he's a 37-year-old coach. We're going to get to this other Texas A&M coach in a minute, but a little comparison with new Texas A&M basketball head coach Bucky McMillan, who's 41 years old and has already shown an elite ability to communicate with both recruits and portal players and really sell A&M as a program. That's up to early to do the same thing, because we both know that this is one of the best baseball programs in the country. It is in the elite tier based on the backing financially, everything they have, the support they have from the fan base. So again, he needs to get it done, and I think he will. I think there's just going to be ongoing communication. There are going to be situations, there might have already been, where there was maybe a commit who changed his mind at the last minute. They are competing with 15 other, maybe not Missouri, but 15 other SEC programs that are also looking to replenish their 2026 roster. So it's going to be tough. But
it happens all the time.
It happens all the time. It happens with football too. I remember back in the days when I started covering Texas A&M as a beat writer, you saw guys in the Jimbo Fisher classes that kind of disappeared in terms of, you thought they were, for sure commits, and then something happened on an official visit where something changed, immediately, and it had to do with either facility or family or something else, and you just never heard about it again. They like cut off communication and they commit to their school. It's just business, right? And how in the NIL era, which we're about to get to, it's even more that way. But really, to end with baseball, it's been probably the most fun of my career covering Jace LaViolette. I honestly, and I was talking to my dad about this, who's a 82 A&M grad, and so we, big baseball fans overall, and we were just kind of discussing. It's like, there's been a lot of great players in this A&M program. I think back to like Braden Schumacher and others who, when I was coming up, these were guys I was really covering or watching and thinking, if they just it's going to be incredible if they get a guy who ends up breaking Dalen Holt's record. We don't know. It's very hard to do that unless you're like an LSU of the world, where you always get these power hitters and guys who keep breaking each other's records. And it finally happened with a guy who has embraced A&M in every single way possible. And capping it off with that injury-riddled 24 hours was just the epitome of toughness, and him really selling to Trevor Alberts why Mike Early deserves another chance, really backing up his coach. It doesn't matter what you think about Mike Early, but as a journalist, as somebody who looks at and really reads between the lines, his quote was just incredible to me. I die for that guy. I love this guy. And I don't, people always equate that to like the love of a father or something. No, it's the love of his coach, and it's the symbiotic relationship of two guys who are just trying to make each other better, and I knew that they had this deep relationship with Early because he was a young, untested coach, and they were trying to help him as much as he was trying to help them. So that's one of the reasons why there's so much love between those two. And even though he's leaving, I think that this is going to help Early in knowing that he has the backing of his team. And if you're a new player coming into this program, you've known, even talking to the guys coming back, this is a leader that you can believe in. That's gonna help you, and that's gonna help you in every way on the field and off the field. So I think A&M baseball is in good hands. We shall see. I'll be the first one to call out Early if he does not produce next season. But so far, so good.
So far, so good. I mean, again, hats off to Jace. Love that he is on to bigger and better things, becoming a future MLB pro. So very well done there. But you are right. In this NIL era, it is business. So going forward, we had a bit of a bombshell this weekend out of the blue. Judge Claudia Wilkin kind of finalized, or not kind of, actually did finalize this house settlement with our student athletes. So what this means for athletics going forward, we are entering a new age. So this means that schools can start directly paying players starting, I believe, July 1st. Mm-hmm. And it's you do have to opt into it per school, which if we want to get into those details here in a second, we can. But the rumored amount right now is around $20.5 million per school. per year going forward for their student athletic programs. A lot of what I've seen so far is people speculating how much of that pie do certain schools get for their programs. It's really up to the schools on how to divvy it up throughout the year. So that means football, baseball, basketball, volleyball, everything that is considered one of your programs now at these schools. And we've seen a lot of these schools kind of cut programs in preparation for this. This is kind of the reason why Trev Alberts was brought here in the first place. He is first and foremost a business guy. So going forward, it'll be interesting to see how these new limits on paying these student athletes now, what they're worth and what these dollar amounts roughly equate to, and how these athletic departments spend their money.
Yeah. So like you said, obviously each program is going to, and you are kind of right when say kind of, finally, because this has been a 5-year battle and this has been something we knew was going on. It's been very interesting to cover NIL. I'll tell you that. I think the best one yet was obviously Marcel Reed signing with the aviation company, which does life-saving transportations for liver donations, heart donations, stuff like that. That was awesome. That's where NIL is fantastic, right? You just don't want guys getting rich and driving Lambos around campus. You can, but it's not something you're like, great, because all the rest of us are like, well, okay. Yeah. I mean, you can do what you want, but
you can do everything you want. I mean, exactly. This settlement does not stop these student athletes from going out of their way for selling the rights to their actual name, image, and likeness. And so this is a separate thing for the schools to be paying their players.
Yeah, and we saw Casey Concepcion has made about $2.5 million. Power to him, because I'm going to be honest, I have never been on the fence with this. If you played football and the pain and physical pain and endurance and just challenges you go through, and especially for those who have played at the college and NFL level, this game takes it out of you, and you are risking everything physically and mentally going forward. So if you are going to play this game at the college level, what's going to come with that. So you might as well, I would say, get paid for it. You might as well get paid what you deserve. And a financial incentive is great because it makes it even better to watch. You got guys who they know that they're not on the playing for free anymore type of ilk. And look, for the guys who had to do that for years, it sucks. But this is going to pay $2.8 billion back in total to players that everybody remembers of the past 10 years for A&M. That's guys like Kellen Mond. That's guys like Christian Kirk, a slew of defenders. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see some of the deals that come out now. And I've got the numbers here. So Pete Nakos did a good job from On3 giving the breakdown. So basically, what's being grandfathered in is with football, you're going to have a 105 player limit. With men and women's basketball, it's going to stay at 15. With baseball, it's going to be 34, men's and women's soccer, 28, softball, 25, and volleyball, 18. So it's not a huge change. Obviously, you can still work on those parameters. You're just going to have to use Texas A&M as an example. Mike Elko knows that this was always challenging. He's been talking about it the last couple of months of, we need to get this finalized so that we can go into the offseason with zero confusion on our payments and knowing that, our star players are going to get this amount. This player is going to get this amount. This player, dividing it up to, what value means to these players in the roster. It's kind of weird, but it's just part of the league now. It's just part of what it is.
It's part of our new age.
Exactly. And it's the same with the College Football 26 video game of these payments with playing as certain teams, that they're going to financially benefit from that if they have success in the game. It's an interesting time we live in. It is 2025. So
financials are a part of everything now.
Exactly. So, and, you pay to play. That's always been the, assumed, kind of backroom dealings thing that we talked about all the time. That really was the reason some sports stories were so salacious, and it's
right. They were nasty to hear.
Exactly. And, a kid, a recruiter bought a sandwich for somebody, and then he gets fined, $100,000 or something, like ridiculous stuff like that. And I'm sad for the sports writers that they don't get to write those headlines anymore. But again, like I said, this is just going to make the product even better.
Exactly. And then
it's just going to make everything easier because I think like Elko and guys of the Nick Saban like tree, we're talking like Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian and others who are football guys. They just want to coach football. They want to recruit. They want to work the transfer portal, and they want to get on the field. So if NIL is taken care of and they've got people on their staff and people in the front office, I guess that's what you call the front office.
It's front office.
They're going to fit. They're going to do all this stuff and get these guys paid, so there's no discrepancies, and they can focus on football. It's going to make it easier for everyone.
Exactly. That's the hope, at least. I think they're trying to get towards this model now in college athletics, especially in football, where the concept of giving these players what they're worth and what everybody believes they're worth is supposed to be kind of a second now to get back to those traditional recruiting grounds. So this is the hope that it equalizes up at the top. Now, I know the original statement was it was trying to equalize throughout the entire athletic everything. So that means that if certain schools in the group of five wanted to try and compete with, let's see, SEC or Big Ten or any of these other Power Four schools now, that they could at least try. But it'll be interesting to see from now on where that kind of lands people. Like, yes, the money is always going to be there, but now you have these traditional recruiting battles again, where even though it was an attempt for these group of five schools, these Power Four schools basically just got an upgrade to everything else that they had on top of it. So it's a little bit tough of a situation there, but I get what the good of all of this is trying to do, where it's trying to give these student athletes what they're worth and get a little bit of piece of the pie in the end result.
Yeah. And there's always going to be controversy with the smaller schools who can't offer those type of deals, who aren't going to have that type of money to work with. And is that going to ruin their program? I just don't think it is. I think there's always going to be players that need to play at the smaller level, who just want to play football and have to get on the field immediately. And if they do transfer, that's been the problem anyways for a lot of these smaller programs going forward. They can still field a roster. And I think you have a team like UTSA, right, that A&M opens the season against. When you have a guy like Jeff Traylor, who is very well respected among the football community, was a candidate actually to become Texas A&M's head coach, about 2 years ago, which what chaotic times that was. But they're always going to have good teams. There's always going to be good football players out there that maybe aren't being recruited at a high level, that are going to start at those smaller schools for a couple of years. And yes, there's a chance that they end up going and transferring. And I'm going to be honest, it just is what it is. You can't really do anything about it now, and it's already passed. And it was always going to be the case that these power conferences were going to get, the biggest piece of the pie. It's just, this is college football. It
was unavoidable.
It really was. And so that's really all we can say on it. I mean, we can go on diatribes about how bad it is for them or whatever. It's just, it's been brewing for a while. So this was just a final stamp. And now programs can, again, just go forward, focus on football. I think the Case Concepcion news was pretty timely with this is how it's going to look now. It's like a guy like him, who is Texas A&M's number one wide receiver, who is going to be one of the best run after catch receivers in the country next season, and is going to have highlight play after highlight play. I can almost guarantee that. When you look at the money and you look at what other players have gotten, it's pretty equal. Stars get paid.
Exactly.
We saw that Arch Manning, who is obviously the nephew of Peyton and Eli, and the grandson of Archie Manning. It's name value, right? It's name recognition. He also plays for Texas. He was also a 5-star recruit. He was also heralded as a star before he's really done anything. That's NIL, name, image, likeness. What you can work off of with that name, image, and likeness, you're going to make a lot of money off of that. We've seen lesser people in terms of talent make a ton of money off of a good idea or off of just a random occurrence that got popular. It is what it is. So it's going to be very interesting moving forward, but I think this is just good for everybody. And I think for especially those of us who don't want to discuss this every day, we can move on to talking about football and team activities and, what and predictions and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And speaking on continuing to discuss, there are still going to be some legal troubles with this house settlement. We can dive into depth all day about the Title IX stuff or legal arguments where they're going to have a third party oversee any NIL deal over $600 for these athletes. But I do want to say that these schools, even if they opt in, they're not required to pay out all of the $20.5 million to these student athletes. So like I said, it'll be interesting to see how they divvy it up and the percentage basis. A couple of projections I've seen for some other Power 4 schools are trying to project that over 65% of their NIL budget for that, even 75% may go to their football program because of how large it is. And it makes sense when you see how many of those scholarships are actually going out now with rosters being how high they are. But some other schools are considered more of a basketball school, so you may see their percentage of revenue kind of go more towards there. But going forward, I think now you can look onward and see, okay, what are some other things that will probably need to be finalized in a legal dispute or anything along those lines. Maybe some changes are needed in college football going forward. So I think they can now take those extra steps. I've seen a lot of things from Power 4 head coaches saying, hey, we really just want that one transfer portal in January, kind of eliminating that spring window, which I'm a fan for. Mm-hmm. It'll really get the ball rolling for how these schools are going to actually have some stability with players going forward.
Yeah, nothing's going to be perfect. You're 100% right on that. They have a lot to look at. I mean, one of my contributors at Aggies Wire actually did a fantastic piece on this, Dylan Flippo, really going through every aspect of, this looks good on the surface, but again, like you said, you look at Texas A&M, for example. Texas A&M is, yes, a football program first, but you look at the second tier, basketball and baseball are kind of tied right now, especially with Bucky McMillan coming in and the potential success he's going to have. So if we look down the line, and we know that, and we're about to actually get to this with recruiting, there's been a buy-in with Texas A&M I've seen like none other with some of these elite recruits who, a lot of people are going to say it's money or it's just NIL deals or whatever. I don't think it is. And to give you an example, we're literally just going to shift into this right now. Over the weekend, like I said at the top of the show, 18 2026 commits are I think it was about 6 commits, part of those 18 visitors. Descended on College Station last weekend. It was a very good visit for pretty much all of them who spoke out after. And 3 of those commits in the 2026 cycle, 4-star wide receiver Aaron Gregory, who, in my opinion, is one of the rising prospects in this class. He could be a 5-star by the end of his recruiting journey. And he was the first to lock down his commitment, which basically means he's shutting down future visits. He's going to sign with the team, most likely during early signing day. That was actually Jonathan Hatton, one of their other running back commits, who chose A&M over Oklahoma. He also shut down his recruitment. So both of them said at the same time. And Aaron Gregory released, one of the best reasons for his commitment. And again, you can take what you want from it of saying, well, he's just saying that. Well, I don't think he was. He basically said, this isn't about the money. This is about the relationships I built with Mike Elko, running back coach, and one of their primary recruiters, Trooper Taylor, obviously their wide receiver coach, Holman Wiggins. That's all we've heard from these recruits, how much they love this coaching staff, because they come in the building and it's the same recruiting trips you have with most, especially your official visit. You get the swag, you get to walk on Cal Field, you get to look at the weight room, you look at all that Texas A&M has it offers. They have one of the best facilities in the country, and especially nutrition programs and eating areas. It's a beautiful place. But again, there's just something different. I think it's a small community. I was talking to someone about this the other day. The difference between a Texas and a Texas A&M is vast, right? Texas is a little more flashy. It's a little more, it's city, Austin is huge. more of a nightlife. Obviously, it's just a bigger place overall. And if you are not a flashy recruit, I shouldn't say that, that's kind of stupid, but maybe somebody who just wants to play in that type of environment, and especially if you're maybe a guy who a wide receiver or an offensive tackle or a specific position that's done very well at Texas for the last couple of years, it's gone to the NFL draft. Maybe that's just where you think you're going to be a perfect fit. He's done a very good job with recruiting wide receivers. But for Gregory, who was being heavily pursued by Texas, it was a little surprising that he shut it all down and said, I'm an Aggie. Like, this is it for me. This is my next stop. And, I've loved what I've experienced here, especially with Texas, who we had heard the last couple of months just going very hard after him, knowing how good this kid is. And I could pull up any video this summer of him beating guys one-on-one in workouts, and he's showing elite traits and somebody who would end up being a superstar at the next level.
Exactly. And like you said, it is very, very big for these current commits of A&M to just wind up on campus for their official visit to start this summer and officially shut it down. I mean, take the likes of Jonathan Hatton, who I believe is a top 5 running back in this next class, competing with the likes of Savion Hyder. I mean, these guys, it is very, very big for Mike Elko and this staff to have them shut it down going forward. We'll get to our third one who shut down his recruitment over the weekend as well, and Caleb Tafua, which had the likes of USC sniffing around for him. And USC has shown that they are able to go out there into the backyard of California just recently. I mean, I think they're going to get over 30 to 35 commits this year. But Caleb Tafua is another one where the Aggies really, really like what he can bring to the table at that tight end position, where you can kind of swing him out wide if you really need him to. And it's really, really good already to see what these Aggies are doing going into these official visits. I mean, they're not even close to being done with these visits so far. So I am very, very hopeful and very, very much looking forward to how the Aggies operate in this month of June.
Yeah, Anthony Jones, I believe it's a 5-star edge. Anthony Jones, also a name to watch. He's kind of trending. A couple recruiting guys who I trust, including yourself. He's trending in the direction of A&M, which, again, it's not shocking for those who have been watching just the work they put in. I'm just not surprised at all. And I know there's a lot of apathy with the Aggie fan base right now, but you gotta stop with that and really understand that these kids see it completely differently. They see a bright future with Texas A&M. They're not on X looking at Texas Tech fans and Texas burner accounts, talking about 8-4 and what has been and whatever. It doesn't mean anything. This is a new regime. This is a head coach going into his second season with a very good roster, and he's looking to build right now, and he's doing it in a very fast-paced manner. He is not slowing down one bit. It's one of the hardest working coaches and recruiting staffs I've seen. I swear, I think Steve Wiltfong does an article every weekend about A&M's recruiting efforts saying, man, they're making efforts with this guy. I mean, some of these random guys, Paris Melvin, one of the better athletes in the 26 class. This is somebody who I did not think A&M really had a chance at getting. Now he is favored to land with the Aggies. That just shows you the work they're putting in. This coaching staff is fantastic. And it just shows you that, Elko wants to build through recruiting. He knows that obviously he's going to have to get replenishment through the transfer portal each year. But there are going to be other programs who will not emphasis recruiting as much. They're going because of the transfer portal. But if that does change in terms of one of the transfer portal openings shutting down, especially the post-winter, they're going to have to focus on recruiting them more. But A&M is not slowed down in that aspect, because one of the things that we talked about when Mike Elko was hired is if he can match what Jimbo Fisher did, because you can dislike Jimbo Fisher and we get it, but he was an elite recruiter. He was somebody who never had drop off really. I mean, he was always finishing within the top 10 most of the time and really gaining talent at every position outside of maybe wide receiver. Now Elko is gaining elite talent at every position you can think of. And you go back to the 2025 signing class where you knew that basically A&M's entire offensive line was coming back, and he still went out and signed 6 offensive linemen. So he knows that in the SEC, you have to keep recruiting these elite players because one of them could end up being an immediate contributor going into their first season. We talk about Noah McHale, one of their freshman linebackers who A&M's linebacker unit is one of the better units in the country, but that really has to do with Torrin York and Scooby Williams being a top. You've got guys like Damian Sanford and Jordan Lockhart and Tristan Jernigan behind him. But again, McHale is a very good athlete who has all the traits to end up being a potential contributor this coming season. So that's why he recruited at a high level, and that's why he continues to throw darts at the dartboard with any of these five-star elite prospects who were maybe because we talked about Anthony Jones, right? I mean, a lot of these guys from Alabama who have Auburn and Alabama in their backyard who are constantly recruiting them. And then you got A&M who is, for example, dominated Georgia, who you think the Bulldogs are always dominating that landscape, which they usually are. But now you got Texas A&M in there. So it's very incredible. I could sing his praises all day. Obviously, A&M needs to win on the field for this to really come to fruition and be really celebrated. But again, it's just beyond impressive, and this is just the start. I mean, these three guys shutting down the recruitment is just the start because I think there's going to be more of their commits doing the same, and we're going to hear what I've heard through the grapevine. We're going to hear a couple more commits in the coming weeks.
Exactly. I really do think we see a lot of good come out of this June. I know a lot of the athletes we're going after right now, they have commit dates set for early July, and what it sounds like a lot of them are going to try and go through their entire processes for official visits before making a smart decision. And I commend them for that, trying to get every single option out of the way with their families, who I was told over the weekend A&M showed a lot of love to these very, very highly rated recruits. I've heard that A&M connected not only with these recruits, but got very much involved with their families as well and showed everyone a good time because that's their pitch. It's family and hard work. Mm-hmm. People know the background that A&M does have, the quote unquote deeper pockets that goes along with recruiting now. But their main pitch right now is focused, determined, hard work, and family oriented to get your nose down in the dirt and grow. And that's really what it is. You've seen the slogan so far of grind. They really, really want to get these guys up and working and really have plans for every single one of their athletes who come through their football program. They lay it out all on a carpet for these guys on their official visits. They say exactly how they want to develop them and get them to the next level or whatever their goal is. And it's really, really cool to see the change now when Mike Elko was first hired. I mean, you saw with guys like Terry Bussey, who was who was recruited right then and there after Mike Elko got in a recruiting battle with LSU. But from then to now, Mike Elko and his staff have recruited these guys with really, really high development traits who are labeled as more of the freakier athletes on the lists. I mean, you saw them go after probably one of the freakiest athletes this last year in Jonah Williams. And while that didn't work out, you had to say to yourself, okay, these are the guys that A&M is swinging after right now, where all of these other programs like Texas, USC, Oregon, these are guys that they want as well, might as well take a couple of swings in them as well. And you said it yourself, going into the heart of Georgia, Florida, California this last year, but keeping it also centric on Texas as well and developing your homegrown players here rather than having to go into the transfer portal, I think is really, really huge going forward, especially now that this house settlement is pretty much finalized.
Yeah, and I think one of the other recruits, one of the sneaker guys really rising as well is four-star offensive tackle Zayden Krempin. So he did an interview with Andrew Hartsley of Gig'em 24/7, and like you said, just the visit overall that his parents mainly spent time with Mike Elko and his wife. He spent a lot of time with Colin Klein, Texas A&M's offensive coordinator, and Adam Cushing. When he spent time with Adam Cushing, it was like you said, how I'm going to develop you, how I'm going to use you year one, year two, what your track is, his coaching style. He's been high on Cushing all offseason. Again, I could praise Adam Cushing's all day, to be honest.
As could I.
Because I've been around O-line coaches who just yell at you, right? They just yell at you about your footwork is bad, your stance is crap. I used to see it all the time. So it's really funny when you hear about this calm demeanor for an O-line coach who, by the way, it does not look like an O-line coach. He's kind of a thin, trim guy. And Crumpin has really talked about just the difference in coaching styles, that he really liked it because he feels like he's more of a technician, right? That everything that the physical play and all that comes naturally, but I need to clean up my technical aspects of my hands and my feet and all that. And, if he could play interior, he could play outside at the night. We just don't know yet. But it's the fact that he's really getting close with two of these position coaches that are valuing him as a young man, really learning about him. He's a Prosper player. So, very different environment. Well, actually, maybe not too different from college.
Not terribly different.
Not terribly different. So maybe that is why. But, actually, I'll make my point is that he's got Michigan and
LSU is really, really hot on the trail for Zayden.
Very different environments, right? So he's got those coming up. Michigan has been a slight favorite. LSU's kind of coming up. So obviously Michigan's a completely different environment. So he's going into those. I think he already visited LSU. So he's going into his Michigan OV, going from College Station to Michigan, and completely different world essentially in terms of just how they feel like, how they treat you and their outlook on his football future. So it's just very interesting. And as we keep hearing about and reading about these recruiting stories after these guys visit, again, A&M is just doing it right, in my opinion. They're emphasizing what Texas A&M and College Station is about. And again, I credit Texas. I did this on a podcast last week with a couple Texas guys and Longhorns. We were talking about that. And I said, I credit the Longhorns as well. They're using Austin. They're using their program on, their consecutive trips to the college football playoff, how close they got, especially if you're a 25, when they were signing their 25 class. Hey, Arch Manning is going to be your quarterback. If you get on the field, that's the guy who's going to be throwing the ball to. Obviously, when they lost a lot of guys to the NFL draft this year, a lot of us talked about how they could have kind of a down year. Well, they went out and signed a ton of defensive tackles and are shoring up areas of weakness. So they're doing what A&M is doing as well. And so both of them deserve credit. I know neither fan base is going to give you the credit because it's a rivalry. Yeah, but I will say this also, that if you are a 26 commit or a 26 recruit that's considering A&M, now you look at, I get to play Texas every year. This rivalry is 100% back. Now it's on Friday. I mean, what can be better than that? So I'm not surprised, and I think that plays a big part in these guys shutting down their commitment and sticking to A&M, because it's just going to be very fun as well. Because this rivalry, when it was gone, I know a lot of people kind of forgot about it and they were just focused on A&M getting better in the SEC, but now it's back and the chirping is back constantly. And I mean, it's got to be very fun if you're a young player that gets to play for either of these programs, especially A&M in an era where you feel that they're finally moving up. They're finally going to reach those heights potentially. Again, we'll have to see, but they got the right coach to do it, and recruiting is a big part of that, and it's been fantastic so far.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic, man. I do love the summer for football recruiting. I love official visit pictures, and I know you've seen a couple so far this past week. So
with the goats, yeah. We'll talk about the goats. I think people need to understand. I have an ag degree. I have an ag degree, actually. So I know all about ag. My dad worked for John Deere for 40 years. So I know ag, right? So it's an ag school. It's one of the best ag schools in the country. They're going to have goats, okay? It's not – I saw an Oregon media guy, like, making fun of it or something. Like, again, they're having fun. Just stop it. Like, I'm not – if you had an actual duck, I'm not going to be like, what are you, a duck? Because you're the Ducks. That's your mascot. Like,
exactly.
It's fun.
I'm never going to harp on any school or recruit for how they do their official visits. People like to make fun of coaches for cringy dances or anything like that. Like, no, these are exactly how you should be doing these depending on your recruits. It is exactly what they're in the market for. You want to show these people the best time that they've had to kind of sell your school, sell exactly what you have in store for them. So hats off to a lot of schools this weekend marketing their place. I mean, Texas has done it. They have marketed exactly what they've done, what they're supposed to. Oregon's done it. USC has done it for years. Miami's finally back on its come up. They have been electric so far when it comes to official visits and landing people off of those. But yeah, really, really fun. Looking forward as we probably preview this next weekend's official visit with a couple of big swingers, namely Lamar Brown.
That's actually how I was going to finish it off. So you read my mind. This is going to be one of the toughest battles, I think, in recruiting. I've never seen. I can't think of a recruit. I'm trying to think back. Maybe David Hicks, to be honest. That's somebody I was thinking of, but it's close. It's very, very close. Visited Texas last weekend. Obviously liked that staff. I'm not surprised. A lot of potential defensive tackles. I believe he's going to play defensive tackle most likely at the next level. I think he talked to one of the LSU media guys about that, but could play O-line. I mean, he's just that versatile.
A lot of these schools in his finalist list are looking at him to more play along the lines of the D line, which usually, if you're elite, you do make more money at that position.
Yeah, exactly. And he's trying to think of the
he's an absolute freak athlete.
I'm trying to think of the Green Bay defensive lineman.
Which one?
Who played for Boston College?
Boston recently? Are you talking about BJ Raji?
Yes. So
BJ Raji. Well,
BJ Raji is a guy.
I do like that comparison.
Who, if you give him Lamar's body type and then combine athleticism, that's what he's going to be at the next level, I think.
Yeah, I
think just the way he moves,
I think
is elite athleticism.
This is a guy who has the metrics to be an elite offensive lineman, whether that's a guard or whether he develops more as a tackle. But playing him on that defensive line, he has these freakish traits where he's so quick off the line.
Like interior
either the offensive or defensive line, his arms are so long that he is able to really, really be quick off this line. So he's being compared to, I believe, Mike Pouncey on the offensive line, which if you remember the story of the Pouncey brothers coming out of college, I mean, they were elite.
Yeah.
But this Lamar Brown recruitment, is it going to be LSU? Is it going to be A&M? Is it going to be Texas, where he actually was able to schedule a visit and was there this past week? So where is it going to end up? And it's going to be really, really close coming down the line.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, I think it was always between LSU and A&M really coming down the line. And then obviously Texas swooped in there. It's just not surprising. Texas had done a good job developing defensive linemen, and they've been doing a very good job sneakily landing a couple 4-star defensive linemen over the past, I believe, couple of days. So they're now a player in this. Again, the fact that he went on social media and reminded us all that he's coming to College Station, he's excited to get back here. I think that's a good sign, because we have seen in the past that some guys who maybe had A&M as their second to last stop, they'll go on social media and say, "Hey, I'm in College Station," but he went on there and he's like, "Hey, I'm in College Station this weekend." Like, just remember that I'm going to be there. And I think he's really waiting for that final pitch from the staff. Compared to what he heard from Texas and LSU, because LSU is always going to be one of the number one options. I mean, I'm just not shocked there. If he committed to LSU, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I just wouldn't be. But again, in the past, that would have been a no-brainer. Now, Texas A&M has just sent 3 defensive linemen to the first and second round of the NFL. We can talk all day about Shamar Stewart's, lack of sack production and all that, but again, these were elite prospects who ended up being drafted high. They see that. They see this system, how they're going to coach them, how they're going to play. They're always going to be among elite talent at every position, especially if you're an O-lineman. We talk about this season for A&M, that this is the money season for guys like Trey Zoom and Armaj Reed-Adams and Chase Basantis, but they're all playing aside each other. You got, if Mark Naboo is healthy at center, Chase Basantis is going to have a field day, especially in the run game. He's going to be mauling guys, and you're going to have scouts every weekend watching A&M going, low first round pick, high second round pick. Same with Trey Zoom. If he's one of the best pass blockers, potential low first round pick. It's just this stuff happens all the time. That's what we call these money type of seasons. And if you're a recruit and you see that in year 2 or 3, you're going to be slotted in as a starter or a big contributor. Another guy we think of is Cassius Howell.
Exactly.
Bowling Green, a great sack artist there, but it was Bowling Green. Like, what's he going to do in the SEC? Well, you and I both know, and I've talked about it a ton of times. I know my boy Tony Catalina at Awesome American Statesman is a huge fan as well of Cassius Howell, knowing that he's probably going to end up being A&M's best defensive player, and he's going to be making some money going into the 2026 NFL draft. So, again, if you're a recruit and you're considering LSU, A&M, and Texas right now, it's really about your position, which school has been dominant as of late, and which has a great development track with defensive line. I would say A&M and LSU kind of win that battle. Texas has been good, and they've been doing a good job of that. So that's why they're also in the mix. But it's going to come down to relationships, I really think. It's just going to be, do I feel like I'm being valued more once I walk in the building, that they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that I reach my football dreams to the next level? I think all three can do that. But I think that Texas A&M, there's just less flash compared to Texas. And with LSU, it's tried and true. You know what you're getting there. You're going to work hard. You're going to get developed, and you're going to end up getting drafted high. So I think it's going to come down to LSU and A&M personally. Texas will be a wild card. They've done it before. They come in late, and they end up being.
Don't count out Miami for this recruit.
Miami is another one. Yeah, actually, and Miami's another one. That's good. Thank you for throwing that in.
Like I said, Miami has done it right this past year under Cristobal.
Yeah,
so.
And they're doing a good job. Obviously, they're going to really use their NIL. I mean, it's going to be interesting actually with them. We could do an entire podcast on that, with how they're going to divvy up those funds with basketball and football, because baseball, I don't think they really care that much anymore. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. That is a player as well. And again, this is one of the most elite prospects, maybe the most elite prospect in class. So
this is one of those recruitments where at the end of the day, I love whichever school is going to get him. They're going to get an elite athlete.
I see, that's the thing. I don't think he's going to end up being the type of player who has drop off with either of these programs. I think he's going to end up being a star with any of them. For him, that's fantastic, because he really can't make a mistake here. We've seen in the past that guys have made mistakes in choosing programs, end up transferring. I think he's going to end up being a stalwart type player for 3 seasons. It's going to develop into a potential first-round pick. And I think we can all cheer him on for that. If that happens, I think that's fantastic. It's just one of those prospects who, if you lose him, it is what it is, because it's very hard to win recruits with, when you have 3 of the top programs recruiting-wise going after you. So we shall see. We're going to end the show with some basketball, as we always do. Me and Cannon love talking Aggie hoops, especially the future with new head coach Buck McMillan. He had and actually get these quotes up. They were fantastic. He did a interview this week with CBS Sports John Rothstein. And I'm going to be honest, I think we both agree that it's great to hear a basketball coach talk about basketball again for A&M, because I like Buzz Williams, and someone made a great joke about how, you'd ask Buzz Williams about your 3-point shooting issues, and he'd tell you to go read a book about leadership, something like that. It's kind of like, okay, it's kind of funny, but it's just your coaching type of outlook. And credit to Buzz Williams, he developed extremely bright young men who are going to end up continuing playing basketball at the next level and are just going to be awesome human beings in life. So that's a small joke, but credit to Buzz. Hope he does very well at Maryland, because I don't really care. They don't play A&M anyways, so it doesn't really matter. But either way,
you could see more.
Yeah, it was just great to see. They talked about pretty much everything. Basically, what McMillan is going to bring, his up-tempo offense, and as we've discussed on the show, this team's going to shoot a lot of threes. And the best thing I got, one of the best quotes, really just talked about what they have on the roster right now. So he basically said, we're a good shooting team. When you have when you have that, you're capable of beating anybody. It's a team that, it's a team will make over 23s in a few games this season. That was kind of eye-popping right there. To make a run in the tournament, you have to be able to shoot. You have to have multiple guys who could shoot over 40% from three-point land. So when you read that, immediately I thought of Alabama, Auburn, Missouri, Florida, obviously. These were trap games. You had to keep up with them offensively. A&M, too, again, praising Buzz Williams a lot on this podcast, but did a very, very good job of, for the most part, containing these teams defensively. That's kind of the outlier right now. We don't know what kind of defensive team. We do know they're going to be a press man type of scheme, that this is what they're going to practice all offseason, get in shape to do that constantly. And that should breed great results. It should cause a lot of turnovers. And if you have a lead offense on the other end, that's just a recipe for good basketball and winning a lot of games. And so that really stood out to me because he's very confident in the team he has right now. And he could have gone the route of, well, we'll see, right? We think we have a good shooting team. We think based on what these guys did in the past, like Pop Isaacs or Mackenzie Magombo or Ja'Kari Lane or any of these guys, we think, yeah, we're going to be good, right? We're going to try to be, and we're going to try to be an NCAA tournament team. Well, no, he said, we believe we're an NCAA tournament team right now. We believe that's what we're striving for. Make no bones about it. That is our primary goal. And we feel that we have enough on this roster, barring a couple more additions. And I'm going to let you talk about this one. You probably have even more background. They landed one of the top shooting Spanish guards, Ruben Dominguez, last Friday, Thursday. I'm trying to think. Kind of out of nowhere for me.
June 6th, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was I think it was June 6th. Yeah. So it was a couple days ago. But yeah, that was kind of a random thing for me. I mean, we had heard some rumblings about an international player contact. You watch this kid's tape, that is somebody who could end up being a superstar shooter at the college level.
Absolutely. That's exactly what they went into Spain for Ruben. So a lot of this guy's tape, I mean, he shows he has a 6'6". He's, I believe, 190-ish pounds. So his frame is really, really long. So he's able to get his shot up at a high release point. And this is a guy who's been playing professional basketball and FIBA for years. I mean, this is a guy that won a silver medal with the Spain FIBA team back in 2018 for their under 16 team. So he's won an MVP in certain games over France's Victor Wembanyama, which is a really, really fun fact and something you can kind of hang your hat on and kind of look at as well. But this guy's tape, he knows exactly where his spots on the court are, and he gets right to those spots. I think a lot of his shots are really going to be more of that either catch and shoot or off the dribble around a screen. But he is elite at getting to the nail over on that elbow and rising up over close defenders. This is a really, really good pickup for Bucky, in my opinion, especially having that experience. Now, I mean, he's going to be one of the oldest players on this team, if not the oldest, at 22 years old, but will have all 4 years of eligibility to try and get his draft stock up. So kind of tell me your thoughts, because I really, really do like this pickup for Bucky.
The tape is incredible, and it's the release. I mean, I'm trying to think. It was the Connecticut player of the last couple of seasons,
Alex Karabin?
Yes. Similar release. I mean, it's so natural, right? It's just the flick of the wrist. I mean, it's so natural. It's one of those things where I watch a lot of basketball players where you can kind of tell if they're good three-point shooters or not. Some of them kind of force that shot, or Anderson Garcia, who we both love here, obviously turned into some three-point threat randomly during last season, which was great to see. But he kind of stopped, pause, and then just do his best at getting good form out there. I think TJ McConnell, who's another guy who plays for Indiana, every time he takes a three, he really thinks about it. You know, you can just tell, like,
hey, don't sleep on TJ McConnell. My guy TJ was averaging over 36 a game in high school. So
no, I know, but you can tell though. There's a lot of effort. He's just kind of like, okay, just good form.
You are completely right. That form is on point. And honestly, what stands out is like this guy. People will see, the points per game, it's only in the single digits this past year playing professionally. look again, his percentages and shooting, how efficiently he did over in Spain, that is kind of crazy to shoot just under 41% from three. And I know people will love that he's averaging just over 85% from the free throw line in that span as well. So really, really good to see for Bucky to have one of these overseas guys, because a lot of the discussion now is, hey, can you find these guys going in overseas who are trying to find that college route? And we can kind of get into another player that Bucky and the staff have kind of inquired about. There's been some talks, but nothing's really come of it yet, at least. But really, those percentages are what stand out. Overseas, it's incredibly tough to have these percentages stay the same throughout an entire FIBA season, and playing for Bilbao in Spain as well.
Yeah, the other player they did contact was the Italian big man,
7'3" center named Luigi
Suigo. Mm-hmm. Luigi. I can't pronounce that last name, but Kentucky, Louisville, Purdue, BYU, and Illinois have also reached out. He's going to visit Purdue, I think, first. So
from what I've heard, Purdue and Illinois are exceptionally high on this kid. It's just good to see that A&M is still trying to find those last couple of positions for their team.
Yeah, and again, it's just the scheme, right? I don't think Buzz Williams ever wanted guys above 7 foot or even at 7 foot anymore after taking a couple flyers on trying to think of the player they had a couple years ago, but just didn't fit their system. He wanted guys to defend guards a lot, big men to get out and really defend anybody. This was a different defense-minded rebounding scheme where undersized guys had to be elite rebounders. And again, you just weren't scoring at a high rate. And so it's just completely different now, where he's going to try to recruit these big men who are going to be used the way they're supposed to be used. And if they can end up being great shooters and offensive threats, that's fantastic. Getting guys they did in the transfer portal to do that. But we look at our guy, Federico, who's just going to be an excellent offensive guy who's just going to stay in the paint, rebound, and get those easy tip-ins when he can and be a force early. So I'm not surprised that he's trying to he's really emphasizing the international market, but getting a guy like Ruben, who I really do think is going to end up being a great player for this program, just of the competition he's played. We've seen this with these experienced guys coming in. Tennessee and Arkansas have done a good job of that. They've had two of their better players over the last 3 years who are international. I think it was Zubin last year, Ivan last year for Arkansas, who, again, that another 7-footer who can shoot the three. Just these are freakish guys, right? They can really do it all. And it's because they've been playing, adults since
pretty much their entire
life. So they've had to develop quickly compared to obviously American recruits who have been playing at the same age level their entire career. So it's awesome to see. And I think he and again, this just shows you that Bucky is going as fast as he can in terms of, we're going to win now. This isn't about a rebuild. He doesn't want to rebuild, because in today's era, you can rebuild, I guess, but that's just mainly because you're not putting a lot of effort into transfer portal and NIL and doing everything you can to match the teams that you're playing, especially in the SEC. So hats off to him. I thought it was a fantastic pickup. But if you have not watched the Ruben Dominguez film, go watch it. For all of you out there,
please go watch it, everybody.
This is not one of those project interesting guys. This is an elite shooter who has a feel for the basketball, who, if you insert him at the college level against younger guys who maybe can't defend him well enough, especially in the catch and shoot, and if they set screens for this kid, lights out, man. And I can just tell that McMillan is just having fun already, going, we're just going to set every screen possible for him when he's on the court. I mean, it's just going to be fun potentially, but so yeah. Well,
good to see that we're on the other side now of people trying to run us off the 3-point line.
Yeah, that's really. I mean, you just think of the entire season. Every time you went into a basketball season, I mean, I was always excited to cover it because I loved the teams they assembled. But you always knew, are they going to score?
Hey, respect where respect is due. When Wade Taylor was hot, he was hot.
Yeah.
But now you have a bunch more people who, if they get hot, you're going to have to try and compensate with a one-on-one defender now.
Exactly. You have so many options that you really never had under Buzz Williams. You just didn't have that. You knew you had your core starters. You knew what they could do. Like you said, Wade Taylor, there's a lot of dependence on him to play very well and shoot A&M back into a game. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. I can think back to a game a couple of years ago against Arkansas on the road where Taylor was just on fire and he missed the final shot. And you could just tell everybody was just so disappointed because they knew if he would have made that, we would have won. But he's the only guy we can depend on. We can't depend on anybody else to shoot. Well, now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, you just almost every guy on this team outside of Federico, and maybe Zach Clements and a couple other guys that you can probably depend on to take a final shot or shoot at a high clip from beyond the arc. That's why we're giddy about this, because you're giddy about this if you cover this team. And I get we don't have bias. It's okay to want to watch fun basketball. Okay, no matter the team you cover, you want to watch fun basketball.
Absolutely.
This is at least going to be fun basketball.
I am a basketball fiend. There are so many teams I am so ready to watch this year.
Yeah.
And
it makes the SEC better, right?
It does. It really does. So I am super excited. Let's end it off. What is one college basketball team not in the SEC that you're kind of looking forward to watching, maybe on a random Thursday night?
It's kind of hard, actually.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah, I haven't done. No, I'll say this, actually. I am very interested to see and going back to Buzz Williams, what Maryland looks like overall. I am very fascinated by the roster he's put together. There's a lot of pieces in there where they're not Buzz guys per se. Some of these are elite recruits. And then I'm really interested to see how Pharrell Payne and Solomon Washington look. Are they going to look the same? Is Solomon Washington going to be playing more or playing less, which is going to be interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously Iowa State is another team I'm going to be looking at.
Iowa State, that's a very, very good choice.
They're always kind of building. They've got a good recruiting class. They've got some good guys coming in. They're always like on the precipice of getting to the next level, but just can't. And they've had offensive issues. They've been one of the better defensive teams, but they're going to finally have that elite play in the tournament to get past the Sweet 16. So there's a lot of teams in the Big 12 that are going to be interesting. But really, yeah, I'm just really focused on the SEC again because everybody's rebuilding. And now when you have Texas A&M, that could potentially be one of those better teams and is always going to be a challenge for everybody because, like I said, if you were playing A&M on the schedule, you knew what you were going against. You're going against a team that's going to out-rebound you and play really good defense. But if you shoot the three really well, game over. Not the case anymore. Now you actually have to scout this team. And it's going to be very interesting and tough for opponents early in the year who are going to look at this roster and they're going to know, well, I have to go back and watch film on this guy during his year here and this guy because of the transfer portal, right? It's like you have to go watch a ton of film on all these guys, which I think McMillan sees that as an advantage as well because outside of Pop Isaacs, who a lot of the Big 12 and had obviously played against Creighton last year, Jakari Lane, you're going to have to watch, North Alabama tape, and it's going to be interesting. And Zach Clements is another guy who didn't play at all really with Kansas.
Very true.
And he's a wild card who could end up seeing much more playing time just based on the skill set alone. What I've heard from people who sing his praises as a guy who could stretch the court and end up being a threat from three.
I'll tell you what, the one I'm looking at right now, Wisconsin. I am so ready to watch Wisconsin this year. They get Nick Boyd. They have John Blackwell coming back.
That's a big one, yeah.
Austin Rapp is a really good player as well. But super excited for the future of A&M basketball, especially under the new leadership of Bucky McMillan, who's very, very sincere with everyone. He's not going to beat around the bush. So, yeah. Yeah,
and I think the start of his interview summer, I think that's just the start. I think A&M fans can feel they're in good hands because he really does care. He cares about this program. I think he's really sending a subtle message that we're going to be as good as football and baseball. I think that's just kind of what he has to do as a coach, especially in this NIL era now of where these funds are going to go. And if he can end up doing that, it's going to be very interesting of the fund dispersal, how that's going to be divvied out. Because if A&M basketball is a consistent winner and for example, in the next couple of years, if this is a team that ends up finally getting to an Elite Eight for the first time in program history and possibly getting farther, but just, making those strides, recruiting at a high level, getting transfer players, then we're going to be talking about basketball being one of the best programs. So it's just a very interesting time with A&M. We can talk about every sport. I believe softball is going to make a comeback next year. We'll see about baseball on the rise, and obviously football has a lot to prove. But overall, if you're an Aggie fan, I would say, look, you can be sad if you want. That's fine. It's a free country. But at least you can be hopeful knowing that football season is getting closer and closer. As we talked about on the show, Mike Elko is recruiting at a very high elite level. That's only going to make these teams better in the future. And we got a lot of good news coming ahead in all those areas. And but we're always on the show with basketball for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's because that is the most interesting team on campus right now.
It's tried and true.
And they're doing summer workouts right now. We got a video from that, seeing all these players we've been talking about for the last 2 months playing basketball together. It's awesome to see because I'm telling you, they could be an electric bunch. They could be average. We don't know. That happens too. But you and I personally believe this is going to be potentially historic for A&M,
yes,
in terms of scoring and in terms of potentially regular season wins and getting in the tournament, maybe surprising people, because we had our expectations early in the process. We felt they were probably a fringe NCAA tournament team, maybe not going to make it at all. It's just gotten better and better by the players they've landed. And now you got national media guys who I've seen some not include A&M in top 25s. That's fine. Those are meaningless. But finally taking a look and going, you know what? This team might actually be very good. We're going to be watching them early in the non-conference schedule, especially when they go against some of the better non-conference opponents like Oklahoma State.
Exactly. And I can guarantee you, even the fans' expectations, that Bucky McMillan and his staff, they have higher expectations than you, and their floor for their goals is making this NCAA tournament, much less progressing. So you can go forward with that information how you will. I think it's very, very exciting.
Yeah, and it is good to have those. And I would say that with all three core programs, that very good point there. That Mike Elko, Michael Early, and Bucky McMillan are very confident in what they have roster-wise. I think Early, if he finishes up the process, lands those players from the transfer they need, shores up recruiting, and enters the season with guys like Caden Sorrell, Gavin Grahava, Terrence Keel, and all your leaders returning, hopefully some pitchers, he's going to feel good. And it's good for your head coach to be vocal and send that message out that I feel good. You can feel how you want, but we're here to produce on the field and the court. And look, they have the right coaches at the right time, in my opinion. They do. That's my opinion. People can criticize if they want, but I just think for A&M, for where they're going, especially entering this NIL era, like we talked earlier, these are the type of guys you want at the helm. And you want this AD at the helm controlling it all financially. So to end that theory of him being the accountant, hey, you know what? If that's the case, good. That's what they need. That is going to be the end of our show. As always, you can follow my stuff and my two writers, Jared Johnson and Dylan Flippo, at Aggies Wire, part of USA Today's College Wire. You can follow me at Cameron Honesty on X. You can follow Cannon at Torres Cannon on X. He's going to be giving a ton of recruiting updates throughout both football, basketball, and some baseball stuff. So it's going to be a busy summer for both of us. So that's going to be exciting. Likely have Cannon back on the show next week. We'll probably have a lot to discuss then. I mean, as we see, there's just a lot going on, especially with recruiting. I feel like it's never stopping. And literally, I mean, that's the joke all the time, that recruiting never stops. Well, it literally does not stop. And so that's just
tune in next week, guys, to see all the other recruiting updates we got.
Yeah. And we're going to have a lot in store for you over the next couple months, and then leading into the football season. We've got basically a whole new format. It's going to be very interesting. This is the start of something good. I can feel it. So, all right, guys, as always, gig 'em, and we'll see you next Tuesday night.